Iran, right now, their behavior in terms of dealing with their own people and their conduct in international foreign policy is something that does not warrant any kind of strong working together with. 2008, the closest ally removed the MEK from the list of proscribed organizations and lifted all of the consequent restrictions. In 2009, the Council of Ministers of the European Union voted unanimously to remove the MEK from the UN. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the District Circuit held that the Department of State's designation of the MEK was faulty because it violated the due process rights of that group. And this designation of the MEK has been used by Iranian surrogates in Iraq, as well as the Maliki government in Iraq, to attack MEK members in Camp Ashraf or impose inhumane restrictions on them, which has led to the loss of life. But have you ever heard of a decision in Washington made without politics? And the politics here, and I don't know if it is politics, I heard the Secretary of State say that one of the factors in the decision was the conduct, the behavior of the MEK members as they were transferred. The behavior has been exemplary. There's been cooperation. There's been all kinds of assistance and others have given. I think we have to have a continued effort. But I want to just say here, and I too want to join in the praise that was given to Patrick Kennedy. I love to be introduced with a guy with such hair and great teeth, and, the Kennedy legacy here in the United States Senate. But, we were introduced by a senator, a conservative senator from Missouri on the Intelligence Committee. 100 members of Congress have signed a resolution, 100 members of the House. That's a lot. I mean, we've come a long way in 1 year. And it's Republicans and Democrats. It's about 50-50. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here. But again, I just want to say to you, the time to delist is now. If there's one thing that we need to do is keep that strong, positive pressure on based on facts. And if a little politics plays in the way, so be it. Thank you.
I'm not here today to speak on behalf of any group or any political party. I'm here today to speak as an American who cares deeply about our Constitution, who cares deeply about our promises and our commitments. I'm here to speak today on behalf of our constitutional right to petition government for a redress of grievances, to petition government to keep its promises, to allow us full and complete free speech. We here today disagree with the government's policy when it comes to Camp Ashraf, when it comes to listing the MEK, and we have a complete right, a greater right than the government itself. As Jefferson once said, given a choice between a government without newspapers or newspapers without a government, he would not hesitate to pick the latter. Our right of free speech is even more important than the government's power. And the government is trying to take that away from us. They're trying to threaten those of us who disagree with their policy. As the Supreme Court said in its most recent First Amendment case, if the First Amendment has any force, it prohibits Congress from fining or jailing citizens or associations of citizens for simply engaging in political speech. We are here engaging in political speech, and we are being threatened by our government for doing the right thing, for speaking up on behalf of human rights. How dare the government try to repress the truth? And they are trying to repress it in more ways than one, as we've heard today. And I was just shocked listening to the general describe in detail. It just shocked me. I teach legal ethics at Harvard Law School. I've been teaching legal ethics for a quarter of a century. And the idea that the government of the United States would stand before a court and misrepresent facts, and then, when they're called on it, write a letter to the court. You can often understand a lawyer in the heat of combat answering a question that he was not prepared for and overstating it or making a mistake. I can excuse that. I can understand that. But then when the lawyers write a letter and say, now you have a chance to correct the record, here's the response of the United States government. With respect to you and your clients, you have a particular view of the facts, but we disagree with that view. The government stands by the statements made by the attorney on behalf of the Secretary of State in the D.C. Circuit on May 8th. Stands by those statements. Would I love to be a fly on the wall if General Phillips and other generals who were there sat opposite Hillary Clinton, on whose behalf these statements were being made, and were able to listen to the specific factual allegations, show the photographs, and ask Secretary Clinton whether or not these views represent her views? I suspect the answer would be no, and we'd be getting a very quick apology from the United States government. But we're not getting an apology. The government is standing by its erroneous statements. I've been practicing law for 48 years. I've opposed the government in many, many cases. I have never personally experienced a misrepresentation of this kind by a government lawyer like the one presented to the United States Court of Appeals. For shame, for shame. And I think that General McCasey was right not mentioning the name of the lawyer. It's not that lawyer. That lawyer may have made a mistake. It's the United States government that wrote the letter reaffirming the statement of the lawyer. Yes, they have some nuanced responses that maybe this investigation didn't occur, that investigation didn't occur. That's a half-truth at best. What we heard today from the general was the complete truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, what we are pledged to present to the court. So we have a real problem here today. We have a problem of timing. Justice delayed is justice denied. And when justice delayed may cause the taking of human lives, it's more serious than just the theory of justice denied. We have every reason to believe and hope that the State Department will do the right thing and ultimately come to the decision to delist the MEK. Okay, they say they'll do it 60 days after everybody has left the camp, after they have a chance to inspect to see if there are weapons behind. There may well be weapons behind. Of course, the Iraqis could easily plant weapons when everybody's out of the camp. Right. What they have to do is now investigate. I was informed this morning that not a single government has yet agreed to accept a single person from Camp Ashraf to move into their country. And I'm told when we speak sometimes to officials of the government, that's not because of the listing, that involves other factors. I don't believe that.
And women in Iran, as well as all of the Iranian people, have had to suffer under this regime for more than 30 years. Now, it's not just that Iran violates human rights within its own country. The regime is also a direct threat against the world. And by the way, we're talking about the MEK being terrorists. We know who the terrorists are. The terrorists are the regime in Iran. The whole idea of listing an organization on the foreign terrorist list is based on the premise that they pose a direct, credible threat to the United States. Well, we know that there is American blood on the hands of the regime in Iran. They were behind the Beirut bombing, embassy bombing. They were behind the bombing of the U.S. Barracks. They have American blood on their hands. So we know they are the threat. We also know that the delay, the sort of taking at face value, that maybe they will talk to us, maybe they will let us inspect what's going on in Iran, has allowed them the opportunity to enrich uranium to make nuclear bombs. This is something we know, and press reports suggest that they already have enough enriched uranium to make at least 4 bombs. It may be more. Now, I want to talk a minute about conditions for those who are living, the remaining people who are in Camp Ashraf, but also, I think, even more in peril, those who have been moved to Camp Liberty. We're about to enter the summer right now, and many of you from that part of the world are very familiar with what summers are like in Iran. We're talking about temperatures that can get brutally hot. And yet the people who are living in Camp Liberty do not even have an adequate water supply system. They have not been able to tap into the water system. Water has to be tanked in. There is not sufficient water. It does not provide for proper hygiene. The women who are in those camps have to be confronted on a daily basis with the soldiers who, by the way, all are armed. I mean, we're all talking about whether or not the MEK is armed. We know who has arms. We know who has weapons. We know who has rifles aimed at people. It is the Iraqi forces that are in control of Camp Liberty. Now, I believe in the freedom of movement of people. I believe that people, particularly those who are under threat of repression by their governments, should have the right to be able to leave. And I think it is absolutely clear that those who are in Camp Liberty are prisoners. They have no freedom of movement. They can't go outside Camp Liberty, not even to get adequate medical care when they need it. They don't allow people in to be able to interview them to find out what the conditions are. It is a concentration camp. That's what it is. And so I think it is absolutely one aspect that human rights are being violated by the fact that these people are not being treated as refugees. And I will say to General Phillips that, you know, one of the things that happened when people turned over their weapons, when they gave up their personal weapons, when the camp gave up its military weapons, one of the things the United States did was to sign a pledge with each of those individuals guaranteeing their security. Those pledges bear the stamp of the United States government, and yet we are not protecting those people. And the only way to protect those people is to delist the MEK so that these people have the freedom to go and to live where they choose. Thank you very much.